purpose of this meeting is for a public hearing to consider the proposed change in zoning. Has proper legal notice been given for this public hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 53.6 acres located at 3901 Leybourne Road from Springfield Township A Agricultural District to City M1 General Manufacturing District was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on June 30, 2022.
I move that communication be ordered received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
The motion's been made and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Staff report, please.
Good evening, everyone. The applicant's request is to rezone parcel highlighted in yellow as shown on slide from Township Agriculture District to a City General Manufacturing District for proposed warehouse. This parcel was annexed to the city in year 2000 and the parcel is currently vacant. It's surrounded by manufacturing and intensive commercial uses. Some background to this case. The applicants had applied to rezone 2 parcels as shown on slide, and the request was presented before the CEDA board. The CEDA Planning Board had unanimously approved the rezoning of subject parcels on May 16 this year. A total of 6 conditions were specified in the CEDA board's recommendations, and they were subject to the lot splitting and merging for the parcel that is in as shown by the cursor here. This parcel is not within the city of Springfield's jurisdiction. The board's recommendations were based on the site plan provided by the applicant. The city staff had approved the request with comment and recommendations from city planning zoning that the parcel in the north, as it is annexed into the city, it can be rezoned and is recommended approval for rezoning request. However, the parcel in the south, as shown by the cursor, cannot be recommended for rezoning as it is not annexed with the city. So the recommendation to rezone this parcel is contingent upon Chapter 1175 of Codified Ordinances, as the city does not have legislative authority over this parcel. The city's law department was consulted on this matter, and the applicant has amended their application and has requested the city commission for an approval of the parcel in the north. There were no objections received from the public till date. Based on the amended application, city staff is recommending approval of request to rezone the subject parcel from Township Agriculture District to a City Manufacturing District. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from Commission? Dr. Estrop?
Were there any objections after all of the hearings, and have all the legal issues now been resolved?
Yes, and there were no objections.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any comments from the audience or questions? If you come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, John D'Amico, 3975 Leybourne Road. My question is, how are the roads going to handle any heavy truck traffic? And with fairgrounds, they have something on there, and hats off to the fairground board. They've got a lot of activities there. Every weekend, there's almost something going on there with the boat races they have at the lake. My big concern is all the road traffic, let alone when they do construction. You have, 80,000-pound trucks coming in there or heavier. The noise, the dirt and dust, it's not, quote, in an industrial area. You have to the east, the biggest industrial that you have is basically a storage lot for the the county. And there's not a whole lot of activity
middle
that
of
goes
hearing.
on there.
Okay.
Most of the commercial stuff goes on the other side of 41, on the other side of the main entrance to the fairground.
Sorry, could you repeat what you just said for me, please?
Most of the commercial and heavy industry stuff is on the east side of 41 across from the main entrance of the fairground.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing that would even come close to commercial is that county garage. And nothing goes on there but twice a day. Trucks go out, trucks come in. So, my big thing is traffic.
Sure.
During the fair, our truck and car is going to fare out there. No pun intended, but I kind of like agriculture myself. 4-H was founded here, so that's just my main
No, I
concern
appreciate
is
that.
traffic and noise.
That's a township road. Am I right about that? That's adjacent there. That's a township road? County
I
township?
think it might be a county road,
Okay.
Claiborne Road. And then I think, so there has been some discussion about the traffic, really Laybourne Road, that interchange, but also the other side that you've already referenced. And I know there was a meeting with county and city officials, engineers, as well as ODOT to start looking at that entire interchange, because as that continues to develop, the county has also proposed a development along the frontage of the fairgrounds as well, which you might be familiar with there and where the old armory used
Right
to
at the
be.
corner.
So there is going to be an increase in traffic. It is kind of a challenge already with the way the Laybourne Road is designed.
Yeah.
But I know that they are talking, the developer is engaged as well on looking at that issue. So whether that's, I don't want to say what potential solutions are, but they are looking at it and know that there is a lot of activity in that area.
And that property could feasibly be, could have an entrance off 41.
Yeah, I think there's several
Yeah.
opportunities there that they're going to be studying to look at that. Yeah. Understood.
Okay, thank
I
you.
will tell you that the Clark County Transportation Coordinating Committee, as Tom said, is looking at that entire interchange because frankly, it's a mess out there by the fairgrounds now. Just with the Love truck stop, the county road commissioner or county road crews out there, the truck traffic, and now with Gabriel's coming online, we got to evaluate in concert with the Ohio Department of Transportation that entire interchange out there because it needs to take a look at some serious revision. So I know those discussions have started and they will take a serious look at that because the traffic, once Gabriel's gets open, which will be a tremendous asset in terms of jobs to this community. But once that gets open, traffic is going to explode out there, truck traffic in and out of that distribution center. So I think you raised a legitimate point, and it's one we're well aware of, and one that we've got the professionals looking at solutions for.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else have comments in the audience to this matter? Is there a motion to adjourn this hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll, please.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes. The public hearing scheduled for 6:55 is called to order. The roll from the previous will count for this hearing as well.
Let's have another one.
Okay, go ahead and call roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Here?
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Ms. Phillips?
Present.
Here.
Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
Great. The purpose of this meeting for public hearing is to consider proposed change in zoning. Has proper legal notice been given for this public hearing?
Notice of a public hearing for the purpose of considering the proposed change in zoning for 1.04 acre located at 878 East Main Street from RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District to CN2 Neighborhood Commercial District was published in the Springfield News and Sun, a newspaper of general circulation within the city. Attached here too is a true and correct copy of the legal notice published on June 27, 2022.
I move that the communication be ordered, received, recorded in the minutes, and filed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Staff report, please.
The applicant is seeking approval to rezone parcel for establishing a museum in existing vacant structure. The site was previously a sporting goods shop and the structure was built in 1920s, retaining its commercial use in a residential zone. The Connect Clark County Comprehensive Plan shows future character area as transitional neighborhood high intensity. The proposed use of lot for a museum and art gallery is permitted use under city's neighborhood commercial district zone that is requested by the applicant. The requested rezoning of parcel is compatible with surrounding land uses. The additions to the structure, installing, removing walls, or any improvements made to the parking lot will require building permits and/or review of plans from the city staff. The overall city staff recommendation is to approve the request of the applicant. The city service department commented with a note that there is a 27-inch combination sewer going through the property. If you can see on the slide, it's in pink. The City Building Regulations Division has approved the request with condition that a certificate of occupancy will have to be issued before it can be used. The city's Code Enforcement Division had 2 active cases at the time of City Planning Board hearing on this property. However, as of today, the property is compliant and there are no open code violations. Return reports from city staff stated no objections and recommended approval. The neighbors, there were no complaints received from the public. However, there was a question received from a neighbor, and the question was regarding the use of the property. He was concerned whether it was going to be used as a bar or a club, and that question was answered. Staff recommends approval of the request.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the commission? Dr. Estrop?
Yes, what use is going to be made? My understanding is that the building that's currently there is the building that's going to be utilized for business. What kind of business is it going to be, or is proposed to be?
It is proposed to be a museum having artifacts and antique.
Okay. And I received a call this afternoon from a concerned citizen who, because of the bikes path running almost adjacent to this property, we were wondering if we might talk, if the city might talk to the proposed owner of this to make sure there's some green space between the business and whatever parking may have and the bike path, so that we have green space along the bike path instead of looking at yet another paved lot in the city. Is that possible?
On receiving any plans for review, the city staff can recommend the applicant to look forward to the changes.
I think that would be well received by the biking community and by the neighborhood, that if there was a natural barrier there, some kind of shrubberies or something that could separate the trail from the businesses, parking lot or whatever, it would be very, very well received.
I would think that the landscaping ordinance for parking lots is going to kick into effect here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That should
That
take
would
care of that.
Yeah. Point.
Comments or questions from the audience? Or a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillip?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to start the formal meeting in a minute. But I want to make some comments before I have the invocation about our dear community. We lost a hero this last week with Deputy Yates. The entire community showed up all over the place when we brought him back to our community. The streets were lined, and of course the procession to the cemetery was just, there was thousands of people, and there was thousands of people that showed up and just supported this family. I can tell you from firsthand experience, this family feels truly embraced by the entire community. the county, the city. And so I just want to commend our citizens for just really stepping up and showing their hearts and showing their love for these folks. I'm going to call the formal meeting to order. And by the way, obviously my first meeting, I'll make sure I get this right. It's been an exhausting week, but we are all together tonight. So we'll call the meeting to order, and clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
Ms. Phillips? Mr. Rue?
Here.
Mr. Copeland?
You stand for the invocation and the pledge. Father, we just lift up the Yates family tonight, and we ask that you would continue to comfort them as they've felt your embrace throughout this time. I ask that you give us grace to make good decisions for our community, and that we would continue to see this community move. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second. Mhm.
Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mr.
Brett,
O'Neill?
yes. Sorry about that.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Clerk, would you proceed with first readings by title only?
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 53.6 acres located at 3901 Laybourne Road, Springfield, Ohio, from Springfield Township A Agricultural District to City M1 General Manufacturing District. Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 1.04 acre at 878 East Main Street, Springfield, Ohio, from RS8 Medium Density Single Family Residence District to CN2 Neighborhood Commercial District. Confirming and approving Amendment 1 to the grant agreement with Jobs Ohio for infrastructure improvements at the Springfield-Beckley Municipal Airport to revise the eligible cost. Assenting to the detachment of certain land from the City of Springfield, Ohio pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 709.38. Amending ordinance number 9190 passed March 12, 1991, and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the City of Springfield, Ohio, by repealing and replacing Section 185.09A entitled Unused Vacation. Amending ordinance number 9190 passed March 12, 1991, and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the City of Springfield, Ohio, by repealing and replacing certain sections of Chapter 185 entitled Fringe Benefit. Confirming and approving a grant agreement with the State of Ohio, Ohio Public Works Commission, to obtain funding in the amount of $594,760 for CLA Yellow Spring Street Reconstruction Phase 1, PID number 109491, and authorizing the city manager, law director, finance director, and city engineer to do all things they consider necessary for the execution and performance of the grant agreement. Authorizing the city manager to enter into an access agreement with Moino NOV, granting access to city property and permit the installation, operation, and maintenance of 3 soil vapor monitoring points in the city's right-of-way.
Are there any questions of the first readings from the commission, Dr. Estrop?
Yes, I want to raise a question about item 226-22, the detachment of property. I just want to be assured that the owner of this property knows by detaching this land from the city, that the owner realizes that he is giving up all claims for city utilities, water, sewer, and city services. What I don't want to hear is this person to come back later and say, yeah, we wanted to get out of the city, but we thought sure you guys would give us water or would extend the city sewers out there or provide for fire coverage for us. I just want to make sure it's been said loud and clear that the person who is detaching from the city understands that they are losing all city utilities and services, and we will not provide them to people outside the city. The good people of the city of Springfield pay for these services in their taxes, and with the membership as being a citizen of this community come the services. And if you don't want to be part of the city, that's fine.
Mm.
But then you best understand, don't be asking us to provide service.
Can you identify this parcel?
Certainly, this is off of Titus Road. This was a vacant piece of property that was brought in with Next Edge property.
Mhm.
So it's on the east side of the Next Edge property, a vacant parcel. So it's adjoining a home. That homeowner thought to purchase that from the CIC, and so they bought it from the CIC. But Mr. Bruno is the one who handled the transaction, ensured the property owner understood what Commissioner Estrop was explaining, but we'll let Bobby tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so Mr. Board, the owner of the property, has been made aware that he won't have access to utility hookups and related services, and he understands that and is all right with it.
Is that in writing? And has he signed off agreeing to that?
I communicated that to him verbally. I'm happy to get something in writing from Mr. Board if that makes you more comfortable.
I think we would be well served to do that, to make sure that he understands, before we take final action on this, that what he's giving away, and make sure he understands and has read it and understands it and agrees.
I'll
I
reach
don't
out to him.
know,
Thank
Gil,
you.
is that
Parcel-
going too far?
Is the parcel on each side of this property in the city limit?
It is not. So
It is not?
it's a long Titus Lane, if you can envision that.
Look.
They're residential on both sides, and then on the south side of his is a farm field,
Right.
and then additional housing as it
And
goes
the
down.
reason I'm asking that is the rest of the property going to remain contiguous to the city limit
So,
if this guy leaves?
as you know, Commissioner O'Neill, we often look at what our contiguity opportunities are to remain
Right.
contiguous. Staff reviewed that from that perspective, and with the annexation of Silfec, and that property will give us an opportunity for future annexation. So it won't create a block for us if that's kind of the question that you have.
Okay, as long as it
No.
doesn't create a hardship for us.
I
No.
think also the fact that this property owner has the freedom to choose whether they want to be in the city or not needs to be exercised as well, as we've seen other property owners that want to be annexed into the city, so they have the freedom to do with their private property, as we've talked in reverse before about other annexation projects. So I will support this when it gets to the second reading.
And again, I will
Any
also,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other
I'll
comments?
support it. I just want to
Yeah.
make sure
as long as it doesn't create a problem. for
he
the-
understands
Yeah.
what he's walking away
Yeah,
from.
I'm sure. Is there any comments from the audience? State your name and
My
address for
name
the
is
record,
Mike
please.
Lowe, and my address is on file with the commission. I want to talk about 225-21. I want you to explain that, and then I also want you to explain the emergency ordinance tonight, 10120, because I don't know,
Mike, we will address first readings only, and there'll be an opportunity to address the emergency ordinance, but we'll address this first reading that you're asking about. Chris will address that.
Absent a specific question about 225-21, I will simply explain that that is authorizing the city manager, law director, finance director, and city engineer to receive grant funding to fund a portion of the Yellow Spring Street reconstruction. This would go towards Phase 1, which goes from Main Street to Pleasant Street. If all goes well, it could start as early as October. We would hope the latest start date would be January, and it would be about a 16-month construction time.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the audience on first readings? Clerk, proceed with second readings, please.
Amending ordinance number 9190 passed March 12, 1991, and commonly known as the codified ordinances of the city of Springfield, Ohio, by amending certain provisions of the traffic and general offense code.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from the commission?
As I recall, this just brings our city code into compliance with state law. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Any
Jill, I don't know
comments
if
from the
you-
audience? Okay, clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a land lease agreement with Spartan Airport Development LLC for real property located at the Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport consisting of approximately 15 acres.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions from the commission?
Love to see continued development at the airport.
We do.
From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Expanding the designated community entertainment district pursuant to the provisions of revised code section 4301.80.
So moved.
Been moved to seconded. Any questions from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving amendment number 5 to the hangar lease between the city and Select Tech Services Corporation doing business as Select Tech at the Springfield Beckley Municipal Airport.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefore and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into agreement number 37966 with OR Associates LLC for the CLA Yellow Spring Street reconstruction, Phase 2, PID number 109607, for an amount not to exceed $173,275 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments from the commission?
Yeah.
From the audience?
Well, I want to know what that consists of, and my concern is we're doing this, but several years ago, we studied Durr Road project for many years, and then all of a sudden, we don't have the funding. So tell me about this project here.
Chris?
Item 101-20 is for the real estate work associated with Phase 2 of the Yellow Spring Street project. That the Phase 2 goes from Pleasant Street south to Southern Avenue. This real estate work is to get easements on 50 parcels. It's primarily to be able to put a form board behind the back of the sidewalk, which encroaches on someone's property a few inches. One parcel, there is a permanent take for a small piece of land on one of the corners at Fair Street to make sure there's enough room for a fully accessible ADA ramp.
Any other comments from the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Providing for the issuance of bonds to pay the property owner's portion in anticipation of the collection of special assessments heretofore levied of the cost of constructing sidewalks, curbs, and gutters comprised in the 2021 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program at various locations throughout the city and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Are there any comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Amending ordinance number 22-28, which provided for the issuance and sale of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds to pay the cost of constructing sidewalks, curbs, and gutters comprised in the 2022 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program at various locations throughout the city to correct the interest rate and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Are there any questions from the commission, Dr. Estrop?
Yes. Mark, I was wondering what the interest rate undoubtedly has gone up.
That's correct, Commissioner. The interest rate we're going to apply to this particular note is 3.5. Previously, they've been around 2.
Significant increase. Thank you.
Comments from the commission, from the audience? Or call the roll?
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to accept conveyance of utility easements and dedicating those certain rights in real estate for the purpose of constructing, reconstructing, operating, and maintaining water infrastructure and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Appropriating the interest in real property hereinafter described for the purpose of providing necessary rights in real estate needed for the public purpose of making and repairing roads, which shall be open to the public without charge, to wit, the pavement reconstruction and resurfacing, curb and walk replacement, drainage improvements, and/or water and sewer infrastructure improvements on Yellow Spring Street between Pleasant Street and West Main Street, and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commission? Dave?
Just wondering if somebody might explain this in other than legal jargon. What are we doing here?
Well, Jill, you're not allowed to speak since he said other than legal jargon, so is there a non-lawyer that can
Is there?
speak to this?
There's a T word I can't use, I understand. So, this is to appropriate, there's a few pieces of real estate where we were unable to make the proper contacts we needed on this portion of Yellow Spring Street. This is to allow us to start the process to obtain the easements and/or right-of-way we need to move this project forward.
Would these be pieces of real estate where perhaps the owners cease without any heirs, or they're owned
There
by
are-
the state of Ohio, or?
There are countless reasons.
Okay.
These specific ones, I can't speak to the exact, but we run into, in many cases, corporations where they can't figure out who internally should deal with it. This usually gets their attention and motivates it.
Thank you.
Is that simple enough, Dave?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's simple enough, and it makes sense, given that we have 800 vacant pieces of property in this city. It's certainly understandable why this is necessary.
Excellent.
Thank you, Chris.
Any other comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving an increase in the Snyder Park Tennis Courts asphalt removal and replacement project from Fisher Tracks Incorporated for an amount not to exceed $16,363 for a total amount not to exceed $482,405 through Buy Board pursuant to the Buy Board National Purchasing Cooperative Program in accordance with the provisions of Section 9.48 of the Ohio Revised Code and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Are there any comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 14 to the contract between the city and Moody's of Dayton Incorporated for the well pump cleaning and rehabilitation project to increase the contract in an amount not to exceed $18,853 for a total amount not to exceed $1,481,920. Okay, let me try that again. $1,481,921, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 14 and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll?
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Extending support from the City Commission of the City of Springfield, Ohio, to a tax credit development proposed by Woda Cooper Companies Incorporated for permanent supportive housing and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll?
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Extending support from the City Commission of the City of Springfield, Ohio to a tax credit development proposed by Stock Development Company, LLC, for permanent supportive housing and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
The next 4 items have been added to the agenda. Appointing Daniel Martin to the Historic Landmarks Commission.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Comments from the commission? I want to thank our former city commissioner, Dan Martin, to step up and continue to serve the city on Historic Landmarks Commission. From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Authorizing the city manager to execute a third amendment to the joint use agreement between the city and Clark State College and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Consenting to the reappointment of Lisa Dunn, Lisa Henry, Ravi Khanna, and Robert Young to the Community Police Advisory Team and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Consenting to the appointment of Amy Willman to the Community Police Advisory Team and declaring an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from commission? From the audience? Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop,
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips,
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes. Is there anything the commissioners like to bring up before? Dave?
Yes, sorry I missed our last meeting. And in particular, the housing report that you saw during the work session. Clearly, and I'm pleased to see 2 items on the agenda tonight addressing housing. Housing continues to be a critical need in our community, and it's housing across a wide spectrum of different income levels and different needs. So it's something we need to continue to look at, and I know is one of our goal areas. Unfortunately, I had a second round with COVID. After all the shots and all the boosters, this is the second time I've been waylaid by that disease, and I just want to share with my colleagues and with people in the community. I really appreciate the shots and the boosters because it could have been much worse. It was bad enough, and I managed to spread it to our daughter who was visiting and to my wife. But thank heavens I don't think anyone else beyond that. But it is nasty stuff. And if you haven't had your vaccinations and boosters, I would encourage you to take advantage of it. I appreciate the comments, Mr. Rue, Commissioner Rue, that you made about Deputy Yates. I think you speak for clearly all of us on the commission and everyone in this community and in this county. It was a tremendous asset to our community, and his loss is felt very deeply across Springfield. And lastly, I want to say to Chief Miller and Chief Graff, what a great evening out here. My compliments to all and to Logan. My compliments to everyone who helped organize this, pull it off, and represent the city so well. I was out there before the commission meeting just talking to some people, and it was very uplifting, particularly in light of the tragedy of recent, to see the community and our public servants come together and share a moment in common. So thank you to all of you for your leadership in pulling this off. It's a great event. Thank you.
Mrs. Yates was walking out before we came in here. She was walking along and just talking with people. One of the last things that happened at the cemetery was about a dozen of our city officers walked by the casket paying the last ones to pay respects. Otis Williams is a family member of this family. And Deputy Yates was one who really strived for unity among departments, the way he operated. And you saw that throughout all the other departments. And I know Otis will probably be with us in a couple weeks and wants to make some comments, but we hope this is a seed in the ground of unity for our community. Yes.
Just a comment on the money that was appropriated for Yellow Spring Street. The project on Dura Road has not been canceled. It has been delayed. However, because the state withdrew the funding at this point in time, the city's not ignoring that. It's going to be resurfaced. The infrastructure underneath the street is going to be fixed, and that's going to be in 2023. Quite frankly, it's going to be exactly what the people really wanted done before the state got in the middle of it. So again, the only thing that's going to be missing that they might have really rather had was the turn lane at the other intersection. But that's not off the book yet. But they will be resurfacing Dura Road, and it needs it really badly. And we've responded to the neighbors out there tremendously, I think, and we were involved in that. And I think everybody's pretty happy with what's going to happen. But if the funding becomes available again, the improvements that they recommended will be looked at again. But it's not going to be ignored, Mike. Just want to let you know. That's that.
Comments from commission? From the audience, you're welcome to come to the podium, state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Mike Lowe, and I want to thank the service department for getting the speed device fixed at West First Street and Amherst after several years. I recently saw the device flashing at 56 miles per hour. Cars are always flying on First Street, and sometimes the traffic police are sitting there. I also want to thank you guys for not renewing the scooter contract. I complained the first week when they arrived. Kids were riding on the sidewalk and also going on the wrong way on the streets. It was a waste of time for our officers and our EMTs when other important things in the city was taking place, such as crime. We already are short-staffed with the police. Many cities have banned the scooters because of the accidents and the ongoing problems. So thank you for not renewing that contract.
Any other comments from the audience? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Clerk, call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes. Meeting adjourned.